So we have talked about the basic principle behind the CRT design, and we have talked about three different displays, okay, display devices which are based on the CRT design, nothing but DVST, direct view storage tube, random scan displays, as well as raster scan display, right? Raster scan display. So we've talked about the difference between the random scan display as well as raster scan display. Can somebody tell me what is the basic difference between random scan and raster scan display? What's the basic difference between random scan and raster scan display? Can unmute your mic and also tell the answer. So what's the basic difference between random scan display and raster scan display? Waiting for your response. Please quickly respond. Just quickly respond. Raster scan, electron beam travels across the screen, right? Each row from top to bottom over the whole screen, right? This Priya. That means the screen is nothing but an arrangement of different discrete points in rows and columns, and those discrete those discrete points are nothing but called as pixels, right? And we usually follow two things: horizontal trace as well as vertical trace. In these cases, right, we can call it as a retrace, horizontal retrace and vertical retrace, that you know. And there is a concept and there is a line which is called a scan line, right? So any example for a raster scan? I mean, any display systems which is designed based on this raster scan display system? Raster scan I'm talking about. Yeah. So what about random scan then? What about random scan? Yeah, the example is pen plotter, absolutely fine, Moin. But what it does and how it is different from raster scan? Is it drawing the objects with the help of the pixels in random scan display systems? Yeah, it is drawing line to line. On the whole screen or on the part of the screen? So who is doing all these things, drawing and all these things? Yes, electron beams, right? Electron beams, which are generated from, electron beams are generated from, there is something called a source of electrons here in all CRT systems, right? Yes, which is nothing but called as electron gun, right? So the random scan systems, that is why otherwise called as line drawing displays, vector displays, right? because basically the objects are designed with the help of the lines here, right? And that is why the random scan systems are basically designed for line drawing applications and cannot display realistic shaded scene, right? The random scan systems cannot display realistic shaded scheme. That's what you have to remember. So that means, and yeah, so we have talked about three different types of things. I think Nitin has asked one question. Nitin, I'll come to your point if you remember the question. So we'll discuss about your question at the end of the lecture. Okay, Nitin? Fine. So what we are going to discuss today is, I think I have given some tasks to all of you, right? What is the assignment? What was the assignment? We have also talked about something, right? Flat panel displays. And we have talked about the importance, the advantage or the benefits of these flat panel displays over CRT based systems, right? Over CRT based displays. And the advantages are very simple. We have also talked about it. And also we have talked about two different types of flat panel devices. We can say what are the two different types of flat panel displays available. What are the two different types of flat panel displays we discussed yesterday? No, I'm not talking about knowing these examples like LCD and LED. Yes, yes. So emissive and non-emissive, right? Emissive and non-emissive. So LED is coming under which categories? Emissive or non-emissive? Emissive. So then any example that belong to non-emitter groups or non-emissive displays group? LCD. Fine. So how many of you have read at least the brief idea about LCD and LED? Have you read? Ansu, Desparia, Aditya, Rishabh, Nitin. Mayank. Have you read? If not also, it's fine. But you have to read it, right? Because this is what we are using. If somebody will ask you that how you are getting a picture, how you are getting a picture using this LCD screen or LED screen, so at least you should give some fundamental idea. If some layman is asking you, because as we are not mostly using the CRT monitors, yes, you can explain the CRT monitors and then you can explain LCD and LED, and you have to explain also the difference between this LCD and LED. One is coming under or falling under one category called as emissive, and another one is falling under another category called as non-emissive. So then how these diodes are arranged? These diodes are arranged uh, maybe in the form of these rows and columns to form the pixels, and finally you are getting the displays, I mean in images in the monitors, and how the picture definitions are stored in that case. Maybe in that case also refresh buffer or frame buffers are used, right? So that's what you have to understand clearly, that how this energy, this electrical energy is converting to right light energy, and finally we are getting some pictures on the screen. Of course these are all flat panel devices, the properties are same, however this LED and LCD is different. So please go through the principle behind this LCD and LED, right? Okay, so what we will discuss today is nothing but color monitors. It's a very interesting concept. Till now we have not yet discussed about any color monitors, I mean the color images and all. I mean, we have discussed about the color images like RGB color images, that's fine, but we have not yet discussed about this color CRT monitors, right? So the first and the screen, basically we are talking about CRT, right? So the screen is coated with the phosphors, right? Phosphors. So different types of phosphors are available for use in a CRT, different types of phosphors. And the major difference between the phosphors, except the colors, right? Except the colors, the major difference between different types of phosphors is nothing but their persistence. So now the question is, what do you mean by persistence, right? What do you mean by persistence? What do you mean by persistence? We have discussed about this, and when the electron beam fall onto the screen coated with phosphors or the fluorescent screen, and the phosphor dots glows, right? And for some time, right? It is not fixed here. It is not always. It is not persistence. I mean, that is where actually the concept of this persistence lies in, right? So who can say what you mean by persistence? How long it stays means what, Radipya? What stays? I mean, the light or what? Hmm. So that means how long the dots continue to emit light after the beam is removed, right? Because the beam, we know, all the time the beam is coming, all the time the beam is coming, and it changes its places throughout the screen, and then accordingly you will get some dots or some lights over the screen, right? And it changes the directions from top to right, from left to right, I mean left to right, and top to bottom. In similar way, we are getting some pictures of on the screen finally, right? So persistence is so important here, that how long they continue to emit. I mean, basically the phosphor dots. Fine. Okay. I have not shared my screen. Okay. Now is it visible, Nitin? Okay. Thank you. So now I'll ask again 2-3 fundamental questions, right, related to this persistence. Let's say there are phosphors which are having low persistence, right? So there are phosphors which are having low persistence. So do you think that we need some higher refresh rate or lower refresh rate to maintain the picture on the screen without flickering effect? Yeah. If it is lower persistence, absolutely. Any other answer? Vinus has written something. Okay. So that means lower persistence phosphors demands higher refresh rate to maintain the pictures, right? To maintain the pictures, lower persistence phosphors, lower persistence phosphors demand higher refresh rate. Okay, in order to maintain the pictures on the screen without flickering effect. So now, and that is why actually the low persistence phosphors, right? The low persistence phosphors are basically used for animation, right? And a high persistence phosphor useful for displaying the high complex or complex pictures, or you can say static pictures, right? Or displaying complex and static pictures. Fine. So if you can remember few features of this DVST we've talked about, like in the last class, DVST. And in DVST, I told that the DVST has a long persistence, right? Long persistence. So do you think that DVST, using this DVST display, you can generate some animation videos? Do you think that? Is it possible? And that property also I have not discussed, whether animation is or is possible using DVST or not. Animation is possible or not. It is having high or long persistence. Right? So therefore, DVST cannot be used for animation purpose, right? So this is what is nothing but called as persistence and all. And now let us quickly discuss what is color CRT monitors, right? CRT monitors. So this, yeah. So how these CRT monitors display different color pictures? Now with the help of or using the combinations of phosphors. So combination of phosphors that emit different color light. Different color light, right? So by combining the light, I mean the emitted light from different phosphors, a range of colors are generated. So there are two basic techniques for producing the color displays with CRT. Okay, those are nothing but called as beam penetration method, and second one is shadow mask method. Fine. Let us talk about what is beam penetration method and how many colors we can generate using and how we can generate the colors. Again, we are always talking about here the CRT monitors, right? So of course, the electron gun and the electron beam will play an important role in generating the color lights, I mean the color pictures. Beam penetration method. So the beam penetration method, okay, is basically used with random scan monitors. And why the name is beam penetration, we'll discuss right now. Random scan monitors. Used with random scan monitors. So why the name is beam penetration and how it generates colors and what are the different types of colors you can generate. So usually So there are two layers of phosphors here. Two layers of phosphor coated. Two layers of phosphor, usually red and green. Usually red and green, okay, are coated. So two layers of phosphors are coated onto the, so two layers of phosphor, not one layer, coated onto the, you can write, inside of the CRT screen, right, or CRT monitor, inside of the CRT screen. Fine. So two layers of phosphors, usually red and green. Fine. And now the displayed color depends on how far the electron beam penetrates into the phosphorus layer, right? So the displayed color, the color which is to be displayed, that depends on how far the electron beam penetrates into the phosphor layers. We'll discuss right now and what are the different types of colors you can generate from it. So displayed colors relies on how far the electron beam right? And yesterday we have talked about this electron gun. The electron gun consists of several different heating filament surrounded by this cathode, and there is something called as control grid. And also we have talked about there are two different types of anodes are there: focusing anode and accelerating anode. Accelerating anode is basically used to accelerate the voltage which is required, and the speed of this electron beam depends upon that, because it accelerates and it maintains or manages the voltage required. So displayed color light, displayed color relies on how far the electron beam penetrates into the phosphor layers. Fine. So a beam of slow electrons excites the outer layer. The outer layer is nothing but the red layer, let's say. So you'll get the red light. Similarly, the faster electrons, the very fast electrons. So there are two layers, okay? There are two layers, two different color layers coated with different colors, like red and green. The outer layer is red and the inner layer is green. So the slow electrons, as I mentioned here, excites the outer red layer. So finally you'll get the red light here. Similarly, the very fast electrons excites inner green layer. So any guess here that what color it will emit? What color? If a beam of fast electrons, very fast electrons, any other guess that what color it will emit? Yes. Anybody? Are you listening? Am I audible? Okay. So that is why the name is beam penetration, right? The beam penetrates into the layers coated with different colors, red and green, and that again depends upon that what type of, what's the speed of the electron beam, and if it is slow, so then it will only excites the outer red layer, and finally you will get the red light. And if it is fast, very fast, then it will uh, penetrates into the deeper layer or the inner layer, and finally you will get the green color, right? You will green color. And if the speed is intermediate, right? If the beam speed is intermediate, right? It is very interesting. If the beam speed and all is controlled by this acceleration, okay, we've talked about it yesterday, right? There is something called as accelerating anode in the control gun. Please go back and read it. Okay, so intermediate speed, intermediate beam speed, let's say. This intermediate beam speed actually generates the combinations of red and green colors, right? It gives two additional colors, nothing but orange and yellow. Orange and yellow. So then, with this method, we could able to generate only how many colors? Four colors. Four colors, right? So do you think that these four colors are sufficient to draw any real pictures? Do you think that? Any, these four colors are sufficient to draw any pictures? And even if you draw the pictures with these four colors, will you be able to understand, or will it match what we generally see in real life? Do you think that? And this is what is nothing but the major limitations. The major limitations of this beam penetration method. I hope you got the concept at least. What do you mean by this beam penetration? How the beam penetrates? It depends upon how far actually the beam is penetrating the layers, the phosphorus layers. Finally, we have discussed about the limitations of this beam penetration method, and is basically used with the random scan monitors, right? And we generally do not use random scan monitors, that also you know. So what we use is raster scan monitors, right? So let us talk about the second one. I mean, the second method for displaying the color pictures, which is nothing but called as shadow mask method, which is actually an important concept, right? Shadow mask. Second one. Shadow mask method. Fine. These are commonly used in raster scan systems. Right? Raster scan systems, including TV monitors. Including color TV monitors. And it produces a wide range of colors, which is required. A wide range of colors. compared to the beam penetration method, where we could able to generate only 4 different types of colors, right? And this shadow mask CRT, we'll see why the name is shadow mask and all. And this, remember here 2-3 points, that a shadow mask CRT has 3 phosphor color dots. Fine. A shadow mask CRT has 3 phosphor color dots at each pixel position. At each pixel position on the screen, will be having 3 phosphor color dots, and every phosphor or each phosphor dot emits different colors, and basically 3 different colors. What are those? One is red, one is green, and the one is blue, right? So the shadow mask here, the shadow mask CRT has 3 phosphor color dots. I will explain you with one figure. 3 phosphor color dots at each pixel position. At each pixel position. Okay, and every phosphor dot here 3 emits one light. One is for red, and one is for green, and one is for blue. Fine. And that is why even I discuss the same thing, that in case of color monitors, we usually use how many electron gons? How many electron gons are generally used in case of color CRT monitors, and what are those? Yes, that's what also we have discussed yesterday, right? We discussed yesterday that there will be 3 different electron gons, okay, different electron gons, and one for each color dot. One for each color dot. 3 different electron gons. 3 different electron gons. One for each color dot is required, right? So the color CRT monitors basically consists of different things, different components, and the major component is nothing but 3 different electron gons, and every electron gon here represent one phosphor dot or one color dot on the screen, right? And there is something called as a shadow mask grid, which is present just behind the phosphor coated screen, right? If you see here the picture, is it visible? The picture which is there on your screen right now, if you can see, there are 3 electron beams, I mean the 3 electron gons basically, and there will be 3 different color beams. So here I think the picture is not clear, and because it seems like that the electron beam generated from this green electron gon and the blue electron gons are similar. However, it is different, please remember. So here it is mentioned that at least it is written over here that this one represents blue, and this one represents green, and this one represents as red. And red is clearly visible. And if you can see, these electron beams are coming together from 3 different electron gons and passes through something called as a shadow mask here, and here it converges actually, and finally you will get the 3 dots, 3 phosphor dots on the screen at every pixel position, and then you will get the color pictures. Okay, so this one particular position you will get 3 color dots on the screen, right? So now the electron beams which are deflected and focused, focused as a group, which are coming together, okay, and passes through the shadow mask here, which is containing a series of holes, if you can say here, series of holes aligned with the phosphor dot patterns, okay, aligned with the phosphor dot patterns. So when the beam passes through a hole, particular hole, if you can see here in this case, a hole in the shadow mask, right, they activate a dot triangle in the screen, right? And finally, you will get a color spot, small color spot on the screen. So the phosphor dots here, if you see here, the phosphor dots are arranged in a triangular pattern, right? Triangular pattern. Now I would like to show you the view of the phosphorus dot patterns for a shadow mask CRT. This is what is a shadow mask CRT. Yes, if you can see here, please look at it. So RGB, 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 every time you will find three colored and phosphor dots. And this is what is called as, if you look at here, it is called as RGB triad. It is called as RGB triad, red, green, and blue. So all the time you will get a triangular arrangement of the phosphor dots in shadow mask based CRT systems, where 3 electron gons are generated, are used, which generates 3 different types of electron beams, and those electron beams are passed through a shadow mask, right? And the shadow mask is nothing but a series of holes, where actually the convergence happened, and through a particular, when this convergence means the convergence of these 3 electron beams generated from 3 electron gons, right? And finally, the corresponding, it is nothing, and the corresponding, it is always present behind the screen, the shadow mask, right? And the corresponding color dots, the phosphor dots in the screen is activated, right? And that is why we are getting some small spot on the screen, right? And this is how the arrangement of a dot patterns, the phosphorus dot patterns on the screen. And now, if we talk about that, what are the color, the examples which are based on this color CRT monitors or shadow mask based systems, which are nothing but the TV monitors and all. We all know that. And now, if you talk about the different types of colors, so how many colors will be generated? From this type of CRT based systems, we all know that millions of colors are possible using 3 different colors, right? So if you want to, this switch off, if you remember the diagram, RGB color space, right? The RGB color space, what we discussed, but also we have discussed that millions number of colors are possible using this color, 3 different colors, right? RGB, 8-bit, 8-bit, and 8-bit, and finally it will be of 24-bit. And we all know how to calculate the number of colors if the number of bits are given to us, right? So if you want to generate only blue color, so you have to switch off the other 2 one, right? Red and green. And similarly, if you want to get some yellow color or magenta, or if you want to get the white color, we all know you have to switch on all the, all these 3 beams, all these 3 electron beams, like red, green, and blue. And similarly, black also you have to switch off all these beams. So all these combinations are possible to generate different colors, right? And this color CRT system, sometimes called as RGB monitors, right? RGB monitors. So these monitors basically use shadow mask methods, right? And take the intensity levels from electron gons from different colors of red, green, blue. And yes, the high quality raster graphic systems. So there are a few points here we should note down. That high quality raster graphic systems have 24 bits per pixel in the frame buffer. So everywhere we're talking about this refresh rate and frame bar. That is what we have discussed these points and these concepts earlier, right? Yeah. And how many colors are possible using 24 bits, that you all know, right? So, and we're talking about this color systems, right? The system, the raster graphic system, basically the color system. So that is why we're talking about 24 bit, right? You can calculate also 2 to the power 24. The value is around, I think, 16.7, right? If I'm not wrong. So a RGB color system, one more important point here. RGB color system with 24 storage, bit storage per pixel. There will be 3 different plans for RGB. A RGB color system with 24 bit storage per pixel is referred to as full color system, right? Full color or true color system. Fine. So these are nothing but some of the concepts behind this color CRT monitor. So we have discussed in brief, as I mentioned, right? So we've also talked about the flat panel devices, right? So there are few things which are left is we have not discussed about this, but these input devices, output devices. Please read by yourself, and that you already read, okay? That you already know. I know that, but still, it's better if you can go through some output devices and some input devices. And there are something called as three-dimensional viewing devices. There is something called as virtual reality systems, right? So how will you represent these three-dimensional objects? And basically, how will you see? I mean, sometimes we used to see some three-dimensional effect, right? So how is it possible? We are using some 3D, and and we are watching movies. You are using some glasses, right? And for which you are getting some effects, right? The beautiful effects you can see. So what exactly that is? And we have talked about something called as this video controller, this video processor, frame buffer concept, on and on all. And then there is something called as some graphics monitors and workstations that you already know. Only the thing is input devices like keyboard, mouse, right? Trackball, joysticks, the old things, what people were using. What we are using right now is nothing but only this keyboard and mouse, right? Data globe, digitizers. What are those? Just go through the names like image scanners, right? Just go through touch panels. So these are all different types of input devices. And similarly, we are having some hard copy devices, right? So sometimes we call soft copy devices. Some devices are called as soft copy devices. Some devices are called as hard copy devices, right? So who can at least say, so what is the difference between the soft copy and hard copy devices? And which one is the permanent one? I mean, or can you give me some example of these hard copy devices and soft copy devices? I'm talking about Moyank devices. Hard copy and soft copy devices. I'm not talking about only soft copy and hard copy, right? And everybody knows that the physical form of the output is called as this hard copy, and the electronic version of this output is called as electronic version of this output is called as hard copy. Yeah, any other answer? Pransu has written something. Okay, plotter is the hard copy. Okay. Any other answer? Monitor projector. Okay. So what we have discussed, right, till now, this is the concept of hard copy and the soft copy. We all know that, right? The permanent storage is the hard copy, and obviously, and this is nothing but the electronic versions which are stored in the computer memory, right? Soft copy. And the devices based on these outputs, like soft copy and hard copy, are nothing but called as the hard copy and soft copy devices respectively. Fine. And the soft copy devices, as somebody has written, I think Francois has written that soft copy devices are nothing but these monitors, right? So what we discussed, like this cathode ray tube and all, these flat panel devices are all nothing but coming will come under this category called as soft copy devices. So, and in case of hard copy, of course, the printers and these plotters and all will come under this type of categories, right? So this is what is all about these CRT monitors and all these input devices and our output devices, right? So if you want to go through the details of this all, and you can go through it, but try to um, read the principle behind the LCD and LED panel. Please read it. So maybe I'll ask some of you in the next class. Please read it. You may get some time. And today itself, you read it and go through at least the fundamental idea behind this and the principle. I mean, how the colors are. I mean, how the pictures are generated, right? So then we'll discuss our the most important part of this course is called as the scan conversion algorithms, right? How we will generate a line, how we will generate a circle. So there are few algorithms we will follow, and also we'll follow maybe more than one algorithms for one rendering algorithms by discussing the limitations of one algorithm and also the advantages of another algorithm. Fine. Okay, so thank you all, and I think we'll be meeting tomorrow. I think tomorrow we'll be having one class. Yes, tomorrow.